Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Tiffany and I make content on intentional living. And in today's video, we are doing something a little bit different. Normally I try to come on in my second rotation of the week and try to do a cooking video, one that is of a good value or something that I think is interesting. And today we are actually going to be focusing on a gadget. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this week is because I feel like defrosting meat or being able to cook from frozen has been one of the biggest game changers for me in my overall grocery budget. Before, I never liked cooking from frozen, but that was because I would just take the frozen thing, put it in a pan and put it on high and hope for the best. And since then, I've evolved in my cooking, and I wanted to share some of the things that I've learned when cooking from frozen that has helped me in being able to have a stockpile in my freezer. Now I'm able to get my chicken when it goes on sale for $1.99 a pound, whereas previously I would just pay the market price of whatever it was that day. And now I have a whole stockpile of chicken and a bunch of other things in my freezer. What I wanted to try today was actually this Cuisinart defrosting tray. Now I made it a point to get a name brand like Cuisinart to make sure I didn't get some kind of cheap material where maybe it wouldn't work as well. But essentially what you're supposed to be able to do is just set the meat on the tray. And the way that this works is it's a highly conductive, food-safe aluminum that naturally absorbs and transfers warmth evenly to defrost food nearly half the time. Now, I don't know what half the time is. I don't know if that's just sitting there or whatnot, but today I wanted to test 3 different defrosting styles, and I wanted to show you the one that I've been using, and we're gonna see if this one actually is going to replace my current method. So obviously method 1 is going to be this defrosting tray. And then method 2 is going to be me using this pan. And one of the biggest things that I've grown in my cooking is realizing that not everything needs to be on high heat. I was just, every time I cooked, it was just on that same setting, basically high. I have numbers on my dial now. Growing up, I didn't have that. But my numbers now, I will defrost on a 1 or 2 heat level depending on the meat that I'm cooking. And sometimes I don't really want it cooked at all. When I'm defrosting hamburger patties, because we do ours medium, I will literally just leave it on a 1, like barely a 2, because I don't want it to cook at all. I still want it to be basically raw by the time it's defrosted. With chicken, I care a little bit less because I tend to stir fry it and it's still mostly raw when I do a 2 or a 2.5. So essentially method 1 is going to be the defrosting tray, and method 2 is going to be in the pan with the lid. And then method 3, I thought we would just put this with hot water and set the bag of chicken in the water. And then I'm going to check in with everything pretty much every 10 minutes and see where we're at and see which one is doing better. If you're looking for one that maybe, I don't know if the defrosting tray is better than having heat defrosting or anything like that in terms of maximum flavor, I would say this is probably not the right channel for that. For me, I'm really just trying to maximize his speed, efficiency, and cost. So if the defrosting tray actually defrosts the meat somehow faster than me having it on the pan, then that would be the winner for me and I'll end up keeping this. If my pan method still defrost it, unless there's a huge difference in outcome, like for some reason today this way overcooked the chicken or something like that, I'll probably stick to my same method. But I wanted to show this to you guys because, again, if you're able to learn to cook from frozen and you're able to stock up on meats when they hit their maximum sell, it's going to go so far for you in terms of your budget. For me, salmon has been a huge win as well. My store will clearance out their 1-pound salmon fillets and I will get them for $5 down from $14. And I have at least 10 or more, so I'll grab a few every time they do that, and we only have it once a week. I'm stocked up for a while, and now that I'm stocked up, I can keep bringing in the rotation. And now for me and my husband, we have salmon for $2.50 per portion or $5 for both of us. And by the time I add the sides, we're basically both having a salmon cooked meal for most times less than $8. Sometimes it fluctuates between $7 and $8, which when you think about going out to a restaurant, you can have salmon anywhere from $17 to $35, or a nicer restaurant even higher than that. So it's an incredible value. Freezing and being able to cook from frozen is an incredible skill set to have. So I hope I can be helpful for you today, and let's go ahead and get into our experiment. Okay, let's do our 10-minute check-in. So this is definitely starting to break up. And I did get some white on the bottom, but that's okay. You can put the heat down even lower if you want. That part doesn't bother me that much. And honestly, this is nearly a consistency where I would be able to comfortably cook from it now. Some of the pieces are kind of solid, and for the sake of this one not looking like it's anywhere close, I'm gonna leave it in a little bit longer. Kind of get some of the bigger pieces flipped over. But this is broken up and almost pretty much ready to cook with. If I was stir frying and stuff like that, I would feel totally comfortable getting a good cook on this. But we'll go ahead, and then I did put the flame down to almost a 1 now. Hopefully it won't get any more white on it. Again, that doesn't bother me, but if you guys don't want as much white, just turn your flame down a little bit more. Now, let's investigate this. You know what, guys? This is actually not bad. This has like no white on it, obviously, and I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm like poking at it and it's pretty soft. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it over now. Make sure I get as much of it touching the middle as possible. And I'll probably let it run for 10 more minutes and see how that goes. Let me wash my hands and we'll check on the water one. For this one, I decided to put water on it to submerge it. And this one actually wins. This is pretty much almost completely defrosted. And all I did for the water, my stove isn't on for this. I just did the hottest my sink could do. Now, if you don't like submerging in plastic, this would probably bother you. I don't think this is hot enough to trigger the plastic to off gas. It might have been in the beginning, but it's definitely not now. And this is basically fresh out of the fridge chicken. Right now, water actually performed the best. I'm really surprised. I don't even feel like I need to put it back in there. So I'm going to go ahead and declare water the winner at 10 minutes. And I'm going to actually put this in the fridge because I just don't think it needs to go in there. Guys, I'm going to come back at 22 minutes and check on the Cuisinart defrost board. I know mine is going to be ready. It's almost ready now. But I want to see if we do 10 more minutes on that board flipped over, if that gets pretty dang close as well. And then I'll come back and give you guys my final thoughts. Okay guys, we're back with my final thoughts, and honestly, the Cuisinart defrost tray actually did surprise me. I didn't think it was going to work as well as it did. However, that being said, it still came in last with these 3 defrost methods. The water one is the one that actually surprised me the most. It just was the most deeply thawed. Both of these other ones were more like a surface defrost. And for the pan, the one that I normally do, obviously you have to flip it over. And then I was trying to kind of keep it on an even playing field and do it the same as this tray one, but I did end up overcooking it. I would have probably taken it off or started cooking at the 10-minute mark, and I left it on for 22 minutes. I had never left it on for that long, so I didn't realize I was going to end up cooking it because the heat level was so low. I mean, it's not to the point where it's cooked where I would eat it, but it's definitely more white than the starting point that I would want to do. So 22 minutes for that is a no-go, take it off. If it was still a little bit frosty at 10 minutes, probably, if I wasn't doing the experiment, I probably would have flipped it around 7 minutes and just done a few minutes on the other side because it's already starting to melt and it's defrosting, and probably just would have been 10 minutes as a whole. In general, even though this one is a really nice defrost, and maybe if I can't watch the pot, I would do the water, or if I'm driving home, which I work from home, my husband's the one that drives home, but if for some reason I'm not home or maybe I want to get in the shower, I need to go work out, I need to tend to the baby, and I can't watch the pan for defrosting, maybe I would just turn my sink on the highest setting and defrost it. And that reminds me, I'm gonna put you guys on pause for a second. I did put more water in my pot and take a thermometer to it, and the water got to 114, and I wanted to look up at what temperature the plastic would start off gassing. So give me 1 second and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm just gonna read this to you guys. This is what Claude is telling me. I wouldn't take it as factual information, but just so you have the information I have, this is what it says. Ziploc bags are typically made of LDPE, low density polyurethane, or sometimes polyurethane. And the temperature at which they start to break down depends on what off-gas means to you. Trace volatile releases versus visible melting deformation. LDP bags, most common Ziploc bags, begin softening around 195 degrees to 225 degrees Fahrenheit and melt around 220 degrees to 240 degrees Fahrenheit. Some studies suggest trace compounds can start migrating or releasing at lower temperatures, roughly 150 to 160 degrees, especially with the prolonged exposure to contact with fatty oil foods. Polyurethane bags are more heat stable, tolerating up to about 300 degrees Fahrenheit before deforming. Practical takeaways. For sous vide cooking, Ziploc bags are generally considered safe up to around 165 to 170 degrees. For short to moderate cooking times, this is well below their melting point and is the temp range most sous vide recipes target. Direct oven heat, stovetop heat, which we didn't do, and visible warping didn't take effect. So I did a thermometer. I did a fresh batch of water, the thermometer was telling me that my water was 114. So based on this information, it doesn't seem like putting a plastic bag of chicken into the hot water, especially because it starts at 114 and starts to trail down. It's obviously not going to exceed that temperature, would be pretty safe. That just depends on your comfort level with plastic off-gassing and your thoughts around plastic in general. For me, I don't think that would bother me too much, but we just live in a plastic world. I do try to cut it out as much as possible, but this is a really practical way to do it. I don't love the plastic, and I don't love all the extra use of water and the extra pan, whereas this, I can take it out of the plastic. I'm not using any extra water, and the extra pan is just going to be ready to go for me to throw other ingredients in. So I still think the pan is going to be my main source of defrosting, and hopefully I can come back in another recipe and show you guys how I do that better, because I really do defrost in a pan and get a more similar result to this. But with me just trying to film the experiment and keep things even, I just kept that in there too long. And then obviously this has been on here for another 10 minutes, and while the outer portions of it are starting to get pretty soft, like this part here is still pretty frozen. Like breaking it apart still is even a challenge. At this point, it's been well over 30 minutes. Let's say I've been recording for 7. We stopped at 22, 29. There's probably a few extra minutes between the camera setup. So it's been about half an hour, and I would have enjoyed these meals already and been working on dishes or relaxing for the rest of the night. So for this thawing or defrosting tray, this is not going to cut it in my regular day routine. There might be a niche purpose for this tray that doesn't really incorporate into my day-to-day life, so that's something to consider for you guys as well. Maybe you have a niche reason for it. So there might be other videos out there or other cuts of meat where they showed how practical this tray can be. But I hope I was able to inspire you guys and show you guys that defrosting meat doesn't have to be that scary, or cooking from frozen. There's quick ways. Obviously we did 10 minutes on this. I would be surprised if you couldn't start cooking with it maybe around 7 or 8 minutes. Obviously you can set it on your pan. As long as it's not completely frozen solid, you should be able to start cooking from it. You don't have to wait for it to get completely perfect. 10 minutes or less. And the bag is something you can throw it in and go sit on the couch, or throw it in, go make a phone call, go play with your children, talk to your husband, maybe just sit down and relax, whatever you want to do. But it's really not a reason to be afraid of it. Next time something goes on sale at the grocery store, or you see maybe like a clearance meat or chicken, salmon, red meat, ground beef, go ahead and pick up some extra, stock up, get the best pricing available because it's not something to be afraid of. I hope this leads you guys to save some money, and I hope to see you again in another video soon. Bye guys.